Hello and welcome. I am Nick Kanoki, and I am super grateful to be with you all today here with Dominic Townsend as well, President of ABS Quality Evaluations. ABS Quality Evaluations is the sponsor for this program, ALN Thursday at 4 for the month April. And as such, we'd just like to bring some awareness to their organization. ABS Group provides comprehensive engineering and risk management solutions that support safer, more reliable assets and operations for multiple international markets. It was recently named to the Forbes list of America's best management consulting companies and is launching a suite of services to assist organizations reach ISO 55001 certification. Through its subsidiary, ABS Quality Evaluations, the company follows ISO and IEC 17021 accreditation requirements for certification bodies to ensure separation of consulting and certification services. Last month, ABS Quality Evaluations was audited by the ANSI National Accreditation Board, who recommended continuous accreditation towards 11 ISO management system standards, including ISO 55001. Through its combined offerings and business assurance models, ABS is well qualified to assist private organizations, institutions, and government improve their overall business performance by identifying and reducing risks, building trust in the marketplace, and ensuring quality of products or services are meeting expectations and improving overall mission success. To see more, please visit abs-group.com and abs-qe.com.
Well, we're fortunate to welcome Dominic Townsend today, who's a big part of the Asset Leadership Network. Sometimes we lose sight of the amazing people we have involved in asset management in the U.S. in general and in the Asset Leadership Network. Dominic is and ABS are clearly a leader in that. They are the only certified ISO 55000 certifying body in the U.S. That's awesome, and really supporting what we are all doing. So welcome, Dominic. Great to have you today.
Jim, thank you so much. And it's cold here in New Jersey as well, so hopefully it starts to get warmer. And before we start, I do want to say I want to thank the ALN for one, for being on the board, and two, for allowing for us to talk on Thursdays at 4. This organization has been wonderful, and just the the brand awareness and the good things that we're doing in the marketplace to build asset management has just been exciting, and I'm just happy to be a part of it. So thank you.
Great. We always look for win-win-wins. Moving our goals forward and our members' goals forward, and their customers and stakeholders forward all at the same time. So it seems like it's working. We're doing it. So
yeah, we are.
With your help. So usually, excuse me, I like to start with an origin story because there's so many interesting origin stories in this. But so asset management. How did you get involved in that? How did that lead you to sitting here today?
Well, I mean, my career started similar to yours, actually. I have a finance background. I graduated with an accounting degree, and I was fortunate to join an organization that had a management system as business assurance portfolio under it, and I was able to grow within that organization. And since I joined ABS Group 13 years ago, and it's been a great ride. And our whole focus has really been risk and reliability, having organizations improve as an organization, and then ISO 55000 really falls into what we're doing, which is to help organizations manage the life cycle of their assets. So it was a natural progression for us to get involved in this business, and we've been very successful because of the wonderful people that have worked within our organization. Sorry about that. And so it's just been, it's just as we've gotten into new business activities and portfolios, asset management was just, in our wheelhouse of what we're doing. And it's really to manage risk, building trust into the marketplace, making organizations better. So, and it's all about that trust that we're building out into the world, and organizations that are either buying a service or a product, to make sure that they're meeting certain objectives and making sure that business objectives are being met. So certainly that's how we got into it. And then joining ALN has been a great platform for us to really promote some of the services that we're doing. So it's been very complimentary for us as an organization.
Awesome, awesome. I know when we first made contact, and I did the usual thing. I went, well, let me go look at their website. What are they about? And I was like, wow, like it's been around a long time, and it started in ports or something like that, right? Give us a little background on the scope of ABS.
The ABS is an exciting company. We're over 155-year-old company. It started its business developing standards and procedures in the marine sector to really protect the environment and people. And it still is core to what we are all about. And then ABS Group was formed in 50 years ago. This is an exciting year for us. We're celebrating our 50th year for ABS Group. So we took those things that we were developing under ABS, our parent company, and moved it into other market verticals. And not only are we celebrating our 50th year, but as Nick highlighted earlier, we were ranked in the top 1,000 by Forbes as one of the best business management consulting firms in the world. So we're really excited this year. And when you look at ABS's and ABS Group's success, it's really about the people that we've had. We have people that really like to spread their wings and to promote different services and develop new programs. And it's what we're all about. It's really about the people that work for us and that continue to work for us today, and where we're going as an organization. So it's an exciting company to be around.
Nice. I've worked for a number of different companies in my career, and what a difference. What a difference. And for a company to be around for 155 years, they got to be doing something right, because
we are. It's if you look at the history of ABS and you walk through we just built a new corporate office, and it's just so historic, and you just look at all of our leaders and the people that have been around, and it's got an exciting and energetic atmosphere. So walking through there really makes you feel like you're part of something.
Nice. Exciting. That's really good. So we talk about ISO 55000, talk about certification. Sometimes they both can be intimidating. The 55,000, starting that journey can be intimidating.
Sure.
Doesn't necessarily have to be, but it can be. But people, particularly if they haven't been through an ISO management system audit before, it might seem intimidating. What can you tell us about, what people could expect if you were coming to do a certification audit for ISO 55000?
Well, when I look at ISO 55000 or any of the management systems, to me, it's more of I look at it in a circle with 4 rings. And, the outer ring is the management of the organization. It's the leadership, that culture that you're building within the organization, the motivation, the behaviors of people, and really identifying those objectives that you're trying to achieve. The second ring is the asset management itself, the coordinated activities of an organization to realize, what those value of those assets are. And then the third ring which is where we play, which is the business assurance management system activities itself. And that's this set of interrelated and interacting elements, identifying what your policies are, identifying what your asset management objectives are, the processes, making sure your people are trained. And then the most inner circle is the asset portfolio itself. It's what are those assets that you're identifying within the boundaries and scope of your management system. So the first thing is really to make sure that you have the right leadership, that you have the resources in place, and that you have the organization to really focus on what those objectives are, and to continue and have that continuous improvement mindset. And then documenting what you do. And once you get through that routine, it becomes much more systematic. And some of the pitfalls that we see is making sure that you have the right resources in place, that they have the time to develop the procedures, and then you're continually training people and making sure they understand what their processes and activities are on a day-to-day basis.
So you probably wouldn't want to talk about your actual customers, but so what sectors have been involved in the U.S.? Can you speak to that?
Well, ISO 55000, it's really for industries that are very capital intensive. They have a significant physical assets to manage. They have high fixed cost. A few that come to mind are utilities, heavy and light manufacturing, construction, property management, transportation. When you talk about the transportation, we have a very key client, the Airlines Terminal Corporation. And to put a little flavor around it, think about, we audit their utility function. So if their power goes out, the impact that it has on the airline terminal itself, flight delays, the impact on the consumer. So that's why when you look at asset management and really understanding what those risks are and to making sure you have a proper plan in place, it really gets you to think forward to making sure that you're mitigating any risk. And if you do have something that impacts, in this situation, utilities, how do you get it back up and running in a quick fashion to make sure there's not a lot of disruption?
Yeah. And my introduction to ISO management system standards was in the 90s, working for a NASA contractor. And NASA said, well, whoever wins this big old contract is going to have an ISO 9001 compliant, quality management system within 6 months or a year or something like that after contract award. So obviously people needed to start on it right away. They couldn't wait to see if they won.
Right.
In the end, we did win the contract, but I got to play on their configuration review board, so I got involved in kind of the nuts and bolts of how people were doing it, and it's really a broad organizational thing. How do you see 55,000 playing with other management system standards, or when you do 55,000 audits, is it just about 55,000, or typically do they have other management system standards as well?
For ISO 55,000, there are interrelated activities on some of the clients that we have, where an organization might have an ISO 9000, which is quality, and also have the ISO 55,000, which is their management system of their assets. So that there are some companies that integrate them. Companies that do that, they have a benefit because there's some overlapping elements, such as your management structure, making sure your policies and objectives are developed. There's one policy framework. So they're able to achieve the benefits of having an integrated audit. And then there's the organizations that are just focused on ISO 55,000 itself. That's what they really want to make sure that they're managing effectively, is their heavy assets, and making sure that they're really driving the life cycle of those assets and properly maintaining them. So it really depends on the business need of the organization in which management system program they want to adopt.
Yeah. It really struck me, I haven't been involved in the development of the standards, but it really hit me when I was developing some training materials around 55,000, 55,001, that, what we call the blue text in the development process, which was text that's required to be in all ISO management system standards. It's like 2/3 of the text of 55,001 is required. Yeah. It's like, wow, it would make sense for people to do more than one of these, because basically you can't do it unless you have a quality management system, and it's, and you need a risk management system to do it as well. I mean, they wouldn't have to be ISO systems, but
yeah, well, the management system and ISO standards they're really risk-based now. So it's really to identify your organization's risks. How do you mitigate those risks? What are the action plans that you're going to put into place to really drive your business forward? And then the ultimate goal is really to continually improve. That's what we want out of organizations, is that they develop these programs and they implement them for their business practices, to making sure that their organization is identifying their risk, and to really drive that improvement throughout their organization as a whole.
Yeah. Nice. So for 55,000, if you could change something about it, is there anything you would change, or that kind of trips you up in doing audits, or that people have some issue with?
Not that there's any, I wouldn't call them issues. It's really making sure that organizations are implementing it for the right reasons. I talked about the Atlanta Airlines Terminal Corporation. This is an organization that's really dedicated to making sure that their assets are really operating effectively. And the majority of our clients do that. And they really are implementing these things to better their businesses. And that's the one thing that we really want to try to focus on, is to have those organizations drive that value throughout their company. There's many companies out there that they're just looking for a certificate so they can sell a product or move a certain service. But those organizations, in my mind, and this is my opinion, is that they're not implementing it for the proper reasons. You really need to implement it because you see the value. You're going to spend some money in investing in your organization, and it's really to drive that improvement within the organization, not only financially, but also for its people, health and safety of their people, making sure that you're identifying the areas that you want to work on and improve. And to me, those are the organizations that really drive value out of a management system program.
Nice.
And when you talk about ABS, our philosophy is really to drive that value. And when you see an ABS certificate, it means that organization is really optimally running, and in our eyes, it's a best-in-class organization.
Nice. So if somebody is on the ISO 55000 journey and they're thinking about certification, what's the argument, unless you're specifically like regulatory driven, like in the case I mentioned with NASA, what do you see as the big the drivers? What's the return on investment for an organization getting a certification?
Well, I mean, it's to really making sure that your system is continually improving, and to have an independent third party coming in and auditing your organization, identifying areas where you're doing really well, identifying areas where you might be able to improve. It gives you that benchmark and how you're performing against some of your peers. So it really will help you to really achieve optimal results. ISO 55000 is very data intensive in my mind. So if you're going to do it right, it's going to stimulate and you're improving your organizational knowledge and ultimately your decision making, because you have that data activity of your assets. So to me, having an independent third party certification coming in, performing a review every year, really helps that organization continually improve.
Yeah, I don't think that can be overstated, all that stuff you just said. My background in having government auditors come in and review a government property management system was I got this chart still somewhere from 20 years ago, but a company would hire me or somebody like me because they had a problem. That's why you hire somebody. So if you think of there's a line that's acceptable and they're below acceptable, they won't be hiring you. So
right.
And then you do good, and then once you're past the audit, what's going to happen, right? Are they going to invest more or less? Well, the resources are going to go somewhere else.
Right.
That's why I think the recurring audit and the continual improvement was really intentional of the people working on the standard to build in continual improvement to make sure that it was about fun and better ways to do it all the time.
It's interesting we talk about this, because there was just an independent study by the Harvard Business Review, and it talks specifically about supply chains and organizations that are certified towards one of the management system programs, whether it be a quality and environment or one of the social schemes, outperforms organizations that are not certified. So the large brands and OEMs of the world, when they're buying their product or they're buying a service from looking through their supply chains, they're really looking for organizations to making sure that there are no disruptions, making sure that they're going to meet obligations, making sure they're meeting quality objectives. And it's been independently studied that organizations that are certified towards one of the standards outperforms non-accredited and certified organizations. Yeah.
That's useful information.
Yeah, it was just published actually, so it was exciting for us because we believe in it, and we love what we're doing. But it's great to see independent studies and really seeing how they see the management system certification world.
Yeah. So without getting too deep into it, because I know this can get confusing when I'm explaining the way the standards development world works, or where the accreditation and certification world works. So you talked great about the certification, but you did mention that you just got your accreditation. So can you tell us a little bit about what that's about?
Well, just like we audit organizations, we get audited by ANSI, which is the American National Accreditation Board. So it's really our license to audit the management system programs that we're accredited for. So they come in and do an independent review of our organization, making sure that our people and our processes and procedures are meeting the global accreditation activities, making sure we have the right competent personnel, making sure that when we do our audits, that our audit activities support the certificates that we're issuing out into the world. They're really focused on our continually improving. So much of the audits that we perform, we get audited as well to making sure we're meeting our objectives for the accreditation.
Yeah, that's great. Tom Smith, emeritus, I guess, professor now at University of Wisconsin, that was heavily involved in the ISO development process, and he's a great guy and a baseball fan, so we got along. But he now is on the board at ANAB, which is in Milwaukee, and he's
Yep.
he was the University of Wisconsin. So we actually went to their office one time. So I've actually been to their office, which seems like a particularly strange thing these days. Nobody goes to anybody's office, but this was several years ago, and learned a little bit about it just gets so complex, that there's an international association of organizations like that.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of them. Each country has their own accreditation board. We're accredited under ANAB. It's one of the larger accreditation bodies. It's globally recognized, so it's they do a good job. And when I look at audits, when we get audited, to me, it helps us improve as well. So I do look forward to them. It helps our organization look at things differently at times, and it helps us improve.
Yeah, that's good. When things work well, they work well.
Oh, they do.
Dealing with standards people, there's always the chance of getting too far in the weeds. There's no question about that. You can get in the weeds. So let's look forward. So, what's next with you and with ABS Group and with ABS? What do you look is happening in the future?
Well, ABS, we're going through some exciting times. We're really focused on digital, cybersecurity. These are some of the newer programs that we're really launching. Risk and reliability is really a focus of ours. So when we look at our core programs and where the organization is going, in addition to our business assurance model that we're managing around the world, we're really focused on risk and reliability, cyber activities, and to really drive the digital movement. Data is important. So what do you do with that data as you capture it when we're out there doing our survey reviews or our audits? We're doing our engineering studies. So all that information is really helps organizations improve. So there's a lot of great things that are going on at ABS Group right now, and we're just excited about where it's going. And we have some great leadership. So overall, as evidenced in the Forbes article, there's a lot more to come.
Yeah. It's the history, as I understand it, ISO around the world in the US is in Europe and some other places, actually in China, I think. There's a higher percentage adoption of ISO and ISO management system standards in other places. But I know when we got the standards published, that everybody is really interested in the United States, because even at a low level of adoption, it's still the biggest market and has the most interest from people all over in trying to promote that in the US and to, of course, look for their own ways to contribute and participate.
Well, it goes back to what I was talking about with the supply chains. Although there's not as many certified organizations in the United States compared to China or parts of Europe, but the large retailers and the buyers and the OEMs, they reside here in the United States. So they want to make sure that those supply chains where things are being manufactured are meeting certain objectives. So that's why you see this high number of certificates around the world, and where it's grown in other third world countries and emerging markets. Europe, of course, because of the European Union, they require it in a lot of their activities. So that's why that you'll see such a high number of certificates. But here in the United States and the Americas, we're quite strong. It's definitely a good market, and we've penetrated it fairly well.
Really good. Well, so I said I wasn't going to put you on the spot, but here's a little bit of a question that I got learned from Mike Petruski, who interviewed me on his show. But it's but I'll make it very broad. So is there like a quote that you could think of, that guides what you do in some ways, or a book that you've read recently, or reference that people might get a hold of and find some value to, that you'd like to suggest?
Well, I read quite a few books. I'm not going to quote any specific book, but I like Maxwell as the author. If you read some of his books, it really focuses on not only business needs, but also how your personal life impacts business. And to lead, when you're leading people, it's how you're helping them get to where they need to be. And to me, when you read those type of books, and to me, he's one of my favorite authors. So I enjoy reading Maxwell books.
Good. Well, thanks. So, and a good question always is, was there some question you thought I'd ask you that I didn't ask you?
I don't know. When we talked a couple yesterday and a few weeks ago, I kind of just having this open forum and just an open discussion. This is exciting. So to me, this is much more fluid and just kind of talking through scenarios. I like this format. So this is good.
Good.
Dominic, if you have a few more minutes, the next part of our format is overtime. So before we get into overtime, where there are a few questions that came up in the chat and the Q&A, I just want to say again, thank you to ABS Quality Evaluations. They're a patron sponsor of the Asset Leadership Network, and they are this month's sponsor for this program, ALN Thursdays at 4. And if you want to learn more, abs-group.com and abs-qe.com are where you can find more information, or reach out to Dominic. And then again, just thanking other organizational members and Onuma System, another patron member. And last, just a plug for next Thursday at 4 with, I left Dominic Townsend's name in the slide, but it's Eric Brown on April 29th.
Awesome.
I changed that one. Sorry about that.
Well, same hairdo, so there you got that.
That's true.
But yeah, so just next Thursday we'll be here, and we'd love to see you back. And thank you for asking these good questions. And Jim, do you see these questions? Do you want to ask them, or shall I read them?
Well, I can, sure, or feel free.
Yeah, go for it.
Here's one from Chris Golly, who's the head of the U.S. Technical Advisory Group for 55,000. And he says, Dominic, in your experience, how long does it take to implement 55,001? And then how long does it take to see the benefits?
Well, the benefits, I think, you might not be certified right away, but I think you'll see the benefits. There's some low-hanging fruit, and I talked a lot about risk and identifying what those risks are and mitigation plans. So you'll be able to start to see those things early on in the process that you could start working on. So the benefits are quite quick as you start rolling it out. Organizations that do start the journey of ISO 55,000, it usually takes somewhere around a year, probably 3 to 6 months to start to implement the system, and then another 6 months to become certified, depending on how you perform during the audit process.
Good. So there's a question from Annette Kampfner, calling from Germany, and she'll be a guest in the coming weeks. She's on the German MERIT committee for 55,000. And she says, who did the independent study regarding the certified organizations performing better? How was it done, and what was the database? What was data used?
I don't know the actual database that they used. I have it on my LinkedIn. I could share it with people, but it was an independent study from the Harvard Business Review.
Okay, good, thanks. And Art Kirtland who I know you know, is one of your
Yes, I do.
clients, and is an ALN senior fellow.
And
Do you find?
I'm going to stop you for a second. Art was the first client that I met to implement ISO 55000. And I remember walking in his hospital, and he had all these little robots on the floor that are moving packages and products around to the different floors. And I was just, and then in one of the rooms, it was almost like an operating room for the robots. So where they were properly maintaining the robots. So it was really a cool facility to go through. So Art, you're doing some great stuff.
Art asks, do you find a disparity between federal government agencies and non-government related organizations in the U.S. interested in achieving 55001 certification?
Well, we're starting to see more government agencies roll out ISO 55000 and requiring it in their bid process. So you'll start to see more of that, especially with the new administration and the infrastructure development and the what we're seeing as part of their platform. So I think you're going to see a lot more activity with asset management.
Yeah, it's just, I am really excited and energized that infrastructure, that we're taking action. And it seems like things are really going to happen with infrastructure. And, as I've said since we started the ALN and before, was if we come out with a new infrastructure package, and part of it is an asset management, or at least the idea that we can't let it just crumble again.
Oh,
America's infrastructure isn't crumbling because we don't have people that know how to keep it from doing that. And ISO 55001 is just a great tool to get us on that path and to make sure we're going forward.
Yeah, I mean, the timing is right. And, as we're looking at the infrastructure bill and the money that's being put behind it, you're going to see a lot more activity there.
That's awesome. That's what I see for questions. Anything else you'd like to add, or any final thoughts?
I just want to say thank you. I mean, this is just a wonderful organization. I'm proud to be a part of it. And just being able to contribute is just exciting. And, I want to thank my team around the world and the ABS team. We're doing some great stuff. So they're the ones making it happen.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thanks for being a part of the ALN. Thanks for being here today. Thanks to Mike Bordenaro and of course to Nick Kanoki for doing our production and technical background. So Dominic, thank you very much and have a great day. Thanks
Thank you,
for
everyone.
everybody that attended.
Be safe, everyone.